But both of the tournaments I've been in so far, I have gotten one win. Uh, but as I kind of said on my Blue Sky, last week was a little different. I kind of backslid a bit. I had a decent showing on stream the first tournament, and that didn't translate into the second tournament. Um, and just it's kind of more than just what ended up being on the stream. Like I feel like some off-stream matches and stuff, and my previous tournament, the first tournament that I did, were a little more interesting, a little closer, perhaps. Whereas I got shut out a couple times here. Although, to be fair, one of my matches this time was against the person who ended up going second in the entire tournament. So there's that. But yeah, the person and the person that I beat the first time, they were able to get a win in that first tournament themselves, whereas the person I beat this time went 0-4. So it's a little bit, there's a little bit more going on there for me personally, and the match that was on stream definitely, I I feel it was against a Jago, and I feel like I've generally done okay against Jagos, but that match just kind of was not my best moment and displayed some fundamental shortcomings. And I admit I haven't played as much Street Fighter as many other people in the FGC have. Um, and so a lot more people are used to dealing with Ryu likes and stuff like it because they're exposed to it through that. Um, and I've mentioned before that a big reason behind me not playing that is because I've always found the roster pretty boring to an extent, which is true. I think there's another part of it though, and it may mean that I have perhaps the hottest take as far as fighting games are concerned, and that is that I absolutely hate Shotos or Ryu types, and I think whenever there's someone with Ryu-like moves in a fighting game, it ruins the fighting game to some extent. And I'm going to show you a little bit about my logistics behind this as we go into practice mode here. I will, of course, pick my main, Riptor. Been eventually progressing, ranking them up, and getting them suited out with stuff. I think I had the Robo-Tail last time, but now they got the suit of armor. But, alright. So, a lot of what I've been doing to prepare for matches, and as part of this, I do fully admit that I still have a ways to go in my own skill and acumen when it comes to this game, but one of the things I've been doing to prepare is if there's a matchup I'm uncertain about or just like need more experience with, I come into the training room here and then I change them to a hard CPU, which there's a few other difficulties above that, but there's also a few below that. There's beginner and medium under that. But let me go ahead and switch them over to that, because there's a couple situations that I want to go over with this Jago matchup, and like with Ryu type characters as well. Because if you're not familiar, Jago is, while I feel Killer Instinct as a whole was kind of a response to Mortal Kombat as a franchise, there are some parallels with Street Fighter. Jago specifically is very much a Ryu clone. He's got basically a Hadouken and a Shoryuken, and you're going to see those. Okay. Alright, let's see if we can create some space here. Yeah. So what he's going to start doing, of course, everyone should know this at least, with characters like Ryu and any Shotos or like any characters with that moveset, will use their Hadouken type move for ranged attacks and zoning. In this case, it's Jago's Endokuken. So when you're basically across the map and you earn rewards points, but when you're across the map and that zoning happens, one of the things that you can try to do is try to jump over the projectiles. So let's try and close the gap here if he keeps doing Endokukens and see what happens. Alright, that'll work. So you try to go the air route to avoid the projectiles to close in. But when you get over him, Ryu likes, like Jago, have the perfect counter to that, and perhaps the most OP, infamous move in the history of fighting games. The DP. The Dragon Punch. The Shoryuken. Whatever it's called in this game. I know the Endokuken, but that one's a little trickier. And so you kind of don't have the option to close in by the air now. Luckily, my particular character, Riptor, does have an alternative to that. Let's see if I can get in position for that, if he will cooperate. Or actually what I can do here. Okay. Alright, change him to stand for a second, and then let me just make the space to save some time here. Okay, so now I'm going to change him back to a CPU. Alright. So Riptor has what's called the Predator stance. You've probably seen me use it a little bit, where I crouch down, and then I have access to a few other attacks based on the button input afterwards. Normally what I like to do with it is I go to the descent into Predator stance, and then I press RT, which in this case is like a backstep and a great big tail sweep. It's a very good move, very useful. But the point is, the Predator stance is also useful for avoiding projectiles, like Jago's Endokuken. So, when I'm this far away, see, it goes right over. But as I try to approach, did you see what happened there? As I try to approach, he realizes that the projectiles aren't going to work. And I'm not sure if this extends to other iterations like Ryu, but in Jago's case here, he has a perfect counter for that as well. He has that dive kick that comes right in. The main point of that is it makes every situation tough if he gets going with the fireball zoning. You can't approach by the air, otherwise you'll get the equivalent of the Shoryuken. The Shoryuken can also be used, it's also versatile, where it's not just anti-air, it's also an insanely good wake-up move on approach and everything. It's why I say it's potentially too overpowered and infamous as far as fighting games go. But yeah, so this eliminates my options. This particular character has an option to duck under the fireballs, but in this particular case, Jago has a perfect move for coming in and countering that too. So what do I do? In my opinion, this is at least the best case scenario, baiting him out to close the gap, because then at least he comes to me. I can at least break him in this situation if he gets started here, and then the playing field will be leveled a little bit again. But it's aggravating to work around. Here we go. Again. So he's doing this, I duck, but then as soon as I'm close enough, and that time he just immediately did an ender. I'm pretty sure. So he didn't even give me a chance to break. Which is very smart. What you gonna do? Huh. He just walked up that time. That was interesting. Yep. See, just anytime I'm over him, he's just gonna do the Shoryuken equivalent. There's counter break. Switch to heavy. Shadow. Ender. Yep. Shoryuken. Now see, moments like that, that's fucking bullshit. It's like the Shoryuken just supersedes everything else. The Shadow Clever Girl move that I just did is supposed to be fully invulnerable. But does Shadow Shoryuken, and so much for that. Luckily he was doing medium. Yeah, I can also use the Talon Rake to get over... I can use the Talon Rake special to get over Endokuken, so I just did it twice in a row, but... Nope. Okay, got the breaker right. Yeah, but then see, he's ready for the jump in, and so he just does a Shoryuken when I get there. I fucking hate Ryu characters, man. I hate them so much. Now that was just normal anti-air, but... There we go. Yep. Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? You are creating a Riptor Shadow. In order to create a Shadow Brain, you need to fight 3 matches against our dojo master, Jago. Oh, no. I'm sensing a pattern for tonight, and I don't like it. Oh, shit. He did the low. And even Kilgore has a fucking Shoryuken, because why the hell not? Oh, my God.